The governance of the British Empire was a complex system shaped by its vast geographical spread and diverse cultures. From its early days in the 16th century as a collection of overseas colonies, to its peak in the 19th and early 20th centuries, the British Empire's administration evolved through various forms of control and management, which reflected changes in British political thought, economic interests, and international relations. Initially, the British Empire's governance was driven by mercantile interests, primarily under the auspices of chartered companies like the East India Company, which were granted royal charters granting them monopoly rights over trade in particular regions. These companies not only engaged in trade but also took on administrative functions, effectively governing large areas with little direct oversight from the British government. This form of governance allowed for a relatively hands-off approach from Britain, focusing instead on maximizing economic returns. As the empire expanded, particularly following significant events such as the loss of the American colonies in the late 18th century, there was a shift towards more direct government control. The British Parliament began to play a larger role in colonial administration, enacting laws that impacted life across the empire. The turn of the 19th century saw the British government increasingly taking responsibility for territories previously managed by trading companies, exemplified by the takeover of India from the East India Company following the Indian Rebellion of 1857. This marked a significant transition from corporate to imperial rule, which necessitated more structured and bureaucratic forms of governance. In managing such a diverse empire, Britain made use of a variety of administrative systems. In some colonies, particularly those with large settler populations like Australia and Canada, forms of self-governance emerged early on. These dominions were granted significant autonomy and developed their own parliamentary systems, though still under the broader sovereignty of the British Crown. Contrastingly, other territories such as India and parts of Africa experienced more direct control through governors and colonial administrations that reported back to London. This centralized control was justified through ideologies such as paternalism and civilizational superiority, which posited that British rule brought progress and enlightenment to less advanced societies. The implementation of indirect rule became another hallmark of British imperial governance, especially in Africa. This system sought to govern through existing local power structures. Colonial authorities ruled through local intermediaries who were expected to enforce British policies while maintaining traditional authority over their subjects. This method was seen as both cost-effective and less prone to provoke resistance among colonized peoples. Administratively, the Colonial Office in London became increasingly important in overseeing empire affairs from the mid-19th century onwards. It was responsible for appointing governors and other officials and acted as a central point for policy formulation and decision-making concerning various colonies. Alongside it worked other governmental bodies like the Foreign Office, and later on, post-World War II, entities such as the Commonwealth Relations Office, reflecting shifting dynamics within parts of the empire seeking greater self-rule. Throughout its existence, legal systems across the empire also mirrored this diversity. Although based broadly on English law, local adaptations were common. Judicial systems ranged from fully operational Supreme Courts with appointed judges, often from Britain, to mixed tribunals, including local customary laws, especially in African colonies. Economically, each part of the empire contributed differently to Britain's wealth. While some were seen mainly as sources for raw materials needed by British industry, like cotton from Egypt or rubber from Malaya, others provided lucrative markets for finished goods or served strategic military or trading positions like Gibraltar or Suez. Culturally and ideologically, too, governance reinforced a sense of British identity and superiority, which underpinned imperial expansionist ideologies like Kipling's notion of the white man's burden. Education systems established by missionaries or colonial governments often promoted English language learning alongside Western curricula. The decline of British imperial power post-World War II led to decolonization processes where governance structures had to be dismantled or transformed into independent nation-states frameworks. This period saw rapid political change, including peaceful transitions marked by negotiations and legal reforms, as well as violent conflicts in places like Kenya or Palestine. In summing up historical significance without moralizing, governance across different periods reflected shifting approaches based on broader political economic contexts, ranging from mercantile exploration to bureaucratic direct control, aligning with prevailing ideologies about race and civilization at different times. The legacies left behind include varied impacts on former colonies' political systems, whether through legal frameworks or educational structures still influencing current global relations among states once part of this vast empire.